the introduction to your persuasive writing piece. And in the introduction, you're going to give the reader some information, such as what are you writing about, why is it important, and you may include your position in the introduction, whether you support it or not. It's kind of a general statement because we're going to get into more details as we get further into your persuasive writing topics. But the introduction would contain factual information. What are you writing about? Well, you are writing about the principal's proposed policy about not allowing you to bring tablets and smartphones, etc., to school. You might have a statement in there about why it is important, the fact that it affects all of us as students, and you might include your position at this point. And I would like you to know here at the outset that I do not support this particular policy. Okay. So we're writing a response to the letter from our principal about the policy that would not allow students to bring this in. We mention we think it is important, and we list some reasons why, and that we officially oppose this policy, and we're going to ask them to take some action. That's really all you need to provide in the introduction. So once you finish the introduction, now anybody want to take a guess as to what we would call the next section, what the next section would be called and what it might contain?
Yeah, okay, this is Jana and her sister. What do you think?
Probably like the main idea.
Oh, very good, the main idea. Anybody else have any other ideas? Good job, girls. Okay, Ms. Smith?
Okay. Yes, the main idea, but I have divided the main idea kind of into three things. When you're writing about persuading people, you're going to introduce what we call claims. In other words, a statement by the author, or maybe the author will quote someone else, that the author believes or wants the author to believe is true. And I'm going to give you an example of that in a minute. And then when you write a claim, you may write several claims, you should support that claim by at least one reason and one piece of evidence to back up your claim. I mean, anybody could just say anything, but you'll be more convincing if you also give a reason and a piece of evidence to support your claim. Now, there are a couple of examples we're going to go through right now, examples of claims and reasons and evidence that you could use to support your position that opposes this principal's policy. Now, you'll see up in front of you that in the introduction we made general statements, some facts, but no claims. Now we're going to get into claims and then evidence and then reason for each claim. So I'd like to give you one example here, and then we'll work on another example together. But the claim that we could make is that students are not getting the maximum educational benefits computers can offer during school hours. Well, that's a pretty controversial statement, so you need to explain why. Well, the reason they're not getting the maximum educational benefits is that the school only has computers installed in the library in this fictitious situation, which restricts the time when they are available to students. In other words, it restricts the time to your library period each week, and that's about it. And furthermore, in this case, there are not enough of them for each student to have access to one. Now, maybe in your school there are enough, maybe in your school there are not. But we're giving an example here of trying to make a case to oppose this principal's proposal, and these are two good reasons. Hey, the school only has computers in the library, so we're restricted in our time. And furthermore, there are not enough of them for each student, so we have to take turns, etc. So there's two good reasons there supporting that claim as to why students aren't getting maximum educational benefits from the computers. Well, now we have some evidence to go along with the reasons. Many assignments cannot be completed at school and therefore add to the homework load, or have to be handwritten instead of typed, or have to be researched manually from hard copy reference books because of limited access to the computers, limited access to the internet. So anybody else, now that we've made this claim, is there anything else that anybody can think of, another reason or another piece of evidence that they would add to back up their claim that students are not getting the maximum educational benefits computers can offer. Anybody want to suggest anything else in the way of reasons or evidence that they can think of?
And again, we're looking for any possible claim that you might be able to make that any other reasons or evidence that backs up this first claim that students are not getting the maximum educational benefit of their computers during the school hours. Okay, I think you had great reasons then.
Yeah, I guess I did. I guess I wowed everybody. Okay. And everybody, as long as everyone understands now why the reason is necessary and how it supports the claim and how the evidence also supports the claim. So why don't we go to a second example, and I'm going to let you do a little more work this time, but this is exactly the same issue now, but now we're making a second claim. If students have their own devices, such as their own iPads or smartphones or whatever, teachers can cover more material with more students than if they have to rely on class lectures or scarce computer resources at the school. Let's say you made this claim. If they had their own devices, teachers can cover more material than if they'd have to rely on class lectures or scarce computer resources. Can you think of a reason to support this claim or why this might be true?
So you have to give us the reasons this time. If we're saying that if students have their own devices, then teachers will be able to do more during the school day because they don't have to rely on just the individual computers in the classroom, what reasons might you give that would make that statement true? Okay, we have one.
It would.
Okay, that's okay. She changed her mind. I think she's going to think on it and come back. Here's another one. Go ahead.
Well, if you want to type something, you can type it up with the devices instead of you have to go to the library or the computer room.
Excellent.
Okay.
Good.
So you'd have immediate ability to type on your devices instead of having to delay and wait for something to become available. I think that's what you mean, right?
I think that's exactly it.
Okay. Anyone else?
Oh, we have one more. Jana and her sister.
If a student misses school, they can just do it on their iPad or phone.
Oh, very good. So if they're absent from school, then they can maybe catch up with their iPad or their iPhone. Okay, here's one more.
Students can do this during and after school.
Okay, good job. So students can do different things during and after school. Okay, Mr. Smith, what do you think?
I think those are some very good reasons. And what I had written really complements what you guys have said. What I thought in addition was that teachers can prepare lessons online and assign them to individual students or groups of students, meanwhile teaching other lessons to other students or helping other students who are maybe having a little trouble with the lesson. And as one of you said, also students can do these lessons during school, in or outside their classroom, or at home, especially if they have to miss school because they're sick. But it also, if the lessons are online and the students can access them anytime, it certainly makes the availability a lot more flexible. If a person's home sick or if a student has a free period and the teacher has put these lessons online, they can work on their own, and meanwhile, the teacher could be teaching other students and doing other things. So missing school was a good one. Typing on your own devices, if there aren't enough computers to go around, those are some very good reasons to support the claim that if students have their own devices, teachers can cover more material with more students than if they have to rely on class lectures or scarce computer resources. Now, we've done a claim, we've done some reasons. I made up something about evidence, evidence that would support this claim. And I kind of used my imagination here. I pretended that for the student who's organizing this persuasion against this policy. I pretended that my uncle is a teacher in a middle school that allows these devices to be brought to school. He says that his students use them to individually access lessons he has prepared during specific times during the school day, in class, in the library, during lunch period. So here's a case where actually he could bring in another person who actually could come and visit the school and make the case. Here's a person who's a teacher in a middle school that allows these devices as opposed to what the principal is proposing, and why they are an advantage in his school as well. So that would be some actual evidence that can work well. Sometimes on the internet you might find that a study has been done, and that study showed that in a certain school district, or across the United States, wherever the scope of the study was, that students who were allowed to bring their own equipment to school had these advantages, blah, 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 blah. So evidence could also come from a study that's been done by somebody else, another teacher who is using this policy in another school, or some other way that you can think of to support these this particular claim.
I think the key thing that you need to remember with your evidence and your reasons is that your reasons is going to be your facts that back up your claim, and then your evidence personalizes your persuasion. So again, it might be a story, like this example here that Mr. Smith gave of an uncle. It might be an interview that you did with a principal. It might be a study that you found, like Mr. Smith mentioned, online. But your evidence is going to personalize your persuasion, kind of help give the audience that reason to really believe it.